So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 12 mini 3 months later. Now I've actually purchased this one, unlocked a few months back, and you can see the unlocked price of this phone is still $729 before a trade-in. And if you look right there, $779 to get the iPhone 12 mini at the price point, that gives you 128 gigs. So this is around $800 unlocked, but it is a little bit cheaper if you do go with a carrier, which a lot of people do go with. Now, this mini does come in several different colors: white, black, blue, green, product red, just like the iPhone 12. But I gotta state, it's not a cheap phone, kind of like the older 2016 iPhone SE was, which is kind of similar to this in size. But see, the difference here is that this phone is more of a premier flagship grade device, whereas the iPhone SE was more of a budget device when it did come out. Okay guys, so my first pro is that this phone is pretty easy to use with one hand. So when you are going through the pages, extremely easy to use. Now this is pretty obvious. This is why you're buying a mini, for the easy to use with one hand, but it's just something I keep thinking about because there's not a lot of other phones that are coming with this super easy one-handed mode here, like the 12 mini. So if you're going to be using, or if you're going to be buying a 12 mini, do keep this in mind. You want to be buying this more to get the most compact feel you can get out of a phone, because it's really, really simple. It's really, really easy to use this one hand. However, I would say it will vary. If you have a smaller hand, 5.4 inches is still not the most small phone you can get. The 4-inch iPhones of before would still feel even easier, but this one is quite easy. So definitely a major pro on this device right here. Okay guys, so my next major pro with the iPhone 12 mini is that Apple didn't cripple this device in no major ways. They still gave this thing the A14, very similar to the iPhone 12 that we talked about yesterday, and then we were covering this one now, but they didn't really cripple it. They gave it the great cameras on the back. They gave it the same A14 CPU. So there's nothing about this that really feels like a sacrifice besides the screen, but if you know what you're getting into, why would you buy a 12 mini if you wanted a bigger screen? Get this because you want the smaller screen. But like I say, when you go ahead and you're just flying through this phone, you're going to realize you have a powerhouse in your pocket, and it will out benchmark a lot of Android phones even. So 4 gigs of RAM, Apple A14, 14.4. I just keep thinking about how fast this is in the palm of your hand right here for the 12 mini. So definitely one of my major pros is this A14 Bionic chip and all the premium features that Apple decided to put in here. Just like the bigger iPhone 12s, it almost feels like you don't even need a Pro Max or anything like that. This feels almost like a Pro phone, but if we get the third camera, we would have a Pro Mini. Let me know if you guys want to see a Pro Mini in the future from Apple down below in the comments. So the next one that's hard to ignore about this little beautiful beast is that it's just so lightweight. The thing weighs a feather in your hand. It's actually so light. I've talked about this before. I am like scrambling, reaching into my pockets. I'm like, where is my 12 mini? Where is this thing at? Like, that's how much, light this thing is compared to the larger phones that are on the market. You can definitely feel these things in your pocket. The iPhone 12 mini, it just disappears. It disappears in the purse, the bag, the pockets, wherever you have your phones at, it's gone. And then you better pay attention to where this phone is at, or put a bulkier case if you want to feel it, because this one, super lightweight. But that also leads to less fatigue when you are carrying around a lot of things, in your pockets or in your bags. You just, one less thing that's less heavy, you don't have to deal with. It just makes for a very portable, pocketable phone. And you could argue during these current times, are we really needing that much portability? But it really just depends on the user and how much they're still, out and about, or, even in your car. Some people have smaller areas to put their iPhone in, and this phone will just fit it a little bit better because they might not have a large enough area in their car to put their phone in. If you got an older car, for example, this might be more helpful. And the next one is 5G performance. So where this is really useful is when you're trying to use like Google Maps and things like that, when you're navigating and stuff, and you just really count on, these traveling applications. You need that mobile performance on the go. This is really good. Also, when you need fast internet on the go, sometimes there's things that just require you to have an internet connection, such as bank accounts, things like that. And you don't have to worry about them lagging the load in those pressure situations because 5G has helped out. Now, I don't have the SIM card in here. I switched to the S21 Ultra, as you've seen in my video like a week or so ago. But definitely very good overall performance on mobile connectivity. Also, the phone call quality has been very good as well, just because it can hold that reception very well now that they have Qualcomm modems in here. And for one of my 5th pros here, the camera has to be one of the most major pros here, just because you have cameras on this iPhone 12 mini that would beat out the $1,000 iPhone from a couple years back. That's how good Apple put these cameras on here. And where they really shine is not that they're the most versatile. I think Samsung phones are more versatile now in the camera. These don't zoom very far, but it's just the reliability of the performance. The social media applications, when you're taking video and photos for Instagram, you're putting them in stories, Snapchat, Twitter, all these applications, it just looks really good. And it's always something you can count on. Also, some of the apps could be a little bit more polished as well. So yeah, I gotta state the cameras on here, absolutely incredible. If you want to see some of my samples, check out my iPhone 12 3 months later. I included all of them. They're the same exact cameras and they work phenomenally well. So definitely a thumbs up here to the iPhone 12 mini. It's one of my major pros 3 months later. And guys, when it comes to the iPhone 12 mini, definitely I gotta say, just this classic feel, you know, it does feel a little bit better than the iPhone SE of 2016 in terms of overall build and refinement, but the device itself just returning to that classic feel of the iPhone SE from back in the day. Now, the market's showing that not everybody wanted this one, as it's not selling quite as well as the bigger guys, but those guys are definitely something people tend to want to do, is use a bigger smartphone. So this is still for a niche crowd, I feel like, but I gotta state, the iPhone 12 mini definitely something to consider if you really miss the iPhone of back in the day with the 4-inch size. You will still really like this, even though it's 5.4 inches. It's not too hard to manage and much easier than bigger iPhones. All right, guys, so let me tell you, there is not many cons to the 12 mini. Let me go ahead and show you it standing up. Don't you just love how the 12 mini could just stand up on its own? That reminds me a lot of back in the day with the squared off edge iPhones back in the day. So it's nice they brought it back. But the first problem I have with this phone has got to be the price of the 12 mini. So let's take a look at the 12 mini. You know, $729. Now I can see why it could cost that. It does have basically the same stuff as the iPhone 12, but $729, I just feel like the people that were buying the smaller iPhone wanted something a little bit cheaper. Even if Apple did an A13 CPU in here, or even if they cut like a gig of RAM out to get that price down around $599, $650. A $650 might still be a little bit up there, but when they launched this thing, it was in the middle of the pandemic, so that could have affected things as well. People were on their phones at home more. They might have want a larger size. But for sure, my first con is I think the price is too high to reach a lot of the people that were upgrading from the SE, because that phone was a lot cheaper than this device right here. Let me know if you agree with that sentiment down below. All right, guys, so the next one is the battery life. This has definitely been a con. Now, people that own a 12 mini will tell you, I get through the day just fine on this phone. Well, yeah, because you're probably making sure that you can do that by putting on low power mode. When I speak, I'm speaking from a power user perspective. Somebody's using the phone hard all day, and I'm not a huge gamer or anything, but I use the cameras a lot and I use the phone internet a lot. And this phone doesn't make it all the way through, usually with that much percentage. I can make it sometimes, but it's really low by the end of the day. It's really getting a little concerning. 2200 milliamp, it's still better than something like an iPhone 8 or something like the iPhone 7, but you got to keep in mind, this is worse than the iPhone 12 you see behind us there. It's worse than something like a 10s Max. It's worse than 11, 10R. There's a lot of iPhones that are better on battery life than this, and couple this with 5G, you know, the phone's just small, so it just really can't hold on super long. But you know, I think if you're doing medium use, you're going to get through it easily in a day. If you're using low power mode, I think you'll easily make it through the day if you're doing medium usage. But power users will chew through this battery and be complaining the first day, the first week they have this phone. So that's got to be a con for me, even though a lot of people say who have the mini, I can get through the day. But if you're only comparing it to 7 or 8, if you're comparing it to 10R, 11, those devices, not super impressive here. So my next con is that there's no Touch ID integrated anywhere on the iPhone 12 mini. I think this phone would have benefited greatly from that. And it just makes sense. You would just rest your thumb there and it would open, or if we had one integrated within the display. But Face ID does do its job pretty well. You can see it blinking up there. Got a little crustiness up there in the notch over there. But definitely no Touch ID is definitely a con for this device right here. And I would like to see that on the next iPhone. Let me know if you guys agree with that one down below. So the next con is got to be the storage. Now I went with the 128 gig because I knew better, but this phone right here, 64 is where it starts, and I think that's too low. I think it should start here at 128 gigs. So save yourself the stress and just get yourself a 128 gig if you're going to be keeping the 12 mini for multiple years, because you're going to want to use that 4K video from these amazing cameras, and then you're going to be like, why is all my storage gone? And storage matters more in 2021 as we use our phones definitely more for photo and video than we ever did before. So this is definitely more important than back in the day when we had 16 gigabyte iPhones, 32 gigabyte iPhones. This is very important these days. So I find it a con. I hope Apple makes all of their phones standard 128 gig next year. Okay, so my next con is that the mini is just too small to do productivity tasks and watch media on it. So I'm out and about, right? This was like a couple months ago. I'm out and about. I'm going into my bank account, and then I'm going into LastPass. I'm looking for some passwords. I'm going into Google Keep looking for some notes. I'm using Apple Notes as well. And the phone just started to feel cramped. I just missed my large screen. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means I feel like this phone is better for people who are just doing basic tasking. They're not doing anything super serious. It's not that the mini can't do it. It's just when you start to type on this phone for long periods of time and you start to use all the applications, it just feels like it's squeezing a lot down into this little screen. And that's exactly what it's doing. But like I was saying, if you're going to be using your phone for doing a lot of productivity things on your phone, do consider a larger screen. I think it will be helpful. In addition, that media, like I said, if you're watching YouTube and stuff like that on this phone, or ESPN or whatever you watch on your devices, this thing can feel a little bit small. You're going to be wanting to use your iPad. You're going to be wanting to use your laptop after using this for about an hour, because it just feels like not the best choice in that respect. Okay, guys, so the notch at this point is old news, but it's a con here on the 12 mini. And the reason why is because it's bigger than ever on this device right here. It's especially noticeable because you're holding a small phone that has a notch. It's just you could see it more on this smaller display. There's just so much more display on a bigger iPhone that it just kind of dominates the screen with display, and the notch is kind of out of the way. But on a 12 mini, you could definitely see it. So I had to throw it in there. It's something I want to see updated in the future, maybe shrunken down, maybe get a little bit smaller on the next version. So in conclusion, the iPhone 12 mini, should you buy this thing? And my answer to that question is it depends. Do you want a phone for the next several years that's going to be a smaller overall experience? Because this is not cheap. So when you buy this, you're going to want to hold on to it for a while, and you might have some regrets if you're not sure. But if you are 100% sure, I got small hands, I don't want this big old thing, Nick, this one's going to be perfect for you. And also, there's some rumors that Apple's going to be bringing back this with the 13 mini. We'll have to see. But if Apple decides to axe this thing will be more appreciated when it's gone. I feel like it's one of those devices. People aren't appreciating it just now, just like the SE. When the SE was gone and then they were discounting the prices, you couldn't find one of those things basically anywhere in a great condition or brand new, because everybody started to appreciate that was an iPhone that was super small. And we have that here, so take advantage of it while you can still get it in every color, new. It might be one of those classics that goes away. So I definitely think this is a great phone. There are a couple cons, but overall, it's pretty well balanced and such a nice compact form factor. Let me know your thoughts. If you've actually had the iPhone 12 mini for the last couple of months, let us know your experience down below. And if you guys like this new video style where I kind of show the face and I show the phone, we talk one-on-one a little bit more, let me know down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.